Hello everybody, I'm Anton Treuer and I'd like to share a little bit about views in historic Ojibwe communities about folks who are trans. I've done a lot of research and combed through, there are actually 75 volumes of Jesuit relations, which is almost everything early French explorers and Jesuit priests were writing down in the early contact period. I've done a lot of research also in the early American period, and I found a number of references to people of what today we would call non-conforming gender identities. And some of what is said is pretty interesting. Bear in mind that you have to unpack the context of when they were written. For example, there's one by Louis Joliet in the late 1600s. He's writing for a French audience and with French Catholic religious beliefs and views. And so when he's describing what he sees in a native community, he'll say things like native men who, quote, demean themselves to do all of the things that the women are doing and adorn the garb of women. And he describes it in kind of negative light. So you have to unpack who's writing this and who they're writing it for. But as you do, I think you will start to see, and kind of if you read these quotes and listen to them, looking for what did Ojibwe people think about trans women, for example. And I think you'll get a different perspective. So let's look at a couple of those. The first is from Louis Joliet in 1673, who said this: "They, while still young, assume the garb of women and retain it throughout their lives. There is some mystery in this, for they glory in demeaning themselves to do everything that the women do. They go to war, however, but can use only clubs and not bows and arrows, which are weapons proper to men. They are present at all the juggleries and at the solemn dances in honor of the calumet. They are summoned to the councils, and nothing can be decided without their advice. Finally, through their profession of leading an extraordinary life, they pass for manitous, that is to say, for spirits or persons of consequence." So I think what you can see from the Joliet quote is that in spite of him describing men who act like women as demeaning themselves, you can see that trans women were treated with respect, nothing could be decided without their advice, and that there was an important and respected position for trans women in historic Ojibwe communities in 1673. Let's take a look at another one. And this one is from Peter Grant, who was active in the early American period, and he said this: "They have the greatest faith in dreams, by which they imagine that the deity informs them of future events and enjoins them certain penances. I have known several instances of some of their men who, by virtue of some extraordinary dream, had been affected to such a degree as to abandon every custom characteristic of their sex and adopt the dress and manners of the women. They are never ridiculed or despised by the men on account of their new costumes, but are, on the contrary, respected as saints or beings in some degree inspired." I'll read another quote. This one is from Thomas McKenney in 1826, and he said this: "This singular being, either from a dream or from an impression derived in some other source, considers that he is bound to impose upon himself, as the only means of appeasing his manitou, all the exterior of a woman. So completely do they succeed, and even to the voice, as to make it impossible to distinguish them from the women. They contract even their walk, turn in their toes, perform all the menial offices of the lodge, wear, of course, petticoats and breast coverings, and even go through the ceremony of marriage. Nothing can induce these men, women, to put off these imitative garbs and assume again the pursuits and manly exercises of the chiefs. They live and die confirmed in the belief that they are acting the part which the dream or some other impression pointed out to them as indispensable. Again, you have to unpack the historical context around these quotes, the manly pursuits of the chief and these kinds of references. But what you can see through these quotes from the 1600s, from the 1800s, is that in historic Ojibwe communities, trans women were treated with respect, were honored, went through the custom of marriage, and so forth. And although this video has been about trans women, the same is true for trans men and all the many other iterations of gender identity. Some studies have identified as many as 26 distinct gender identities. George Catlin has a famous drawing too. He did many different paintings as he traveled throughout Native communities in the 1800s. And one of the things that he saw and drew a painting of was a dance in honor of the trans feminine. And so there's a trans woman, and there are many male warriors who are dancing around and celebrating this trans woman. So when I think about what we can learn from these historical examples, really reminds me of a core teaching that we are often sharing at ceremonies, which is simply that we were told to respect all things on earth. That means the water, the grasses, the plants that grow. We were told to respect all beings. That means four-legged animals, birds, creatures in the water, and our fellow humans. And if we are to live by that code, it means respecting everyone for exactly who they are, without question, and understanding that our ancestors had a place for everyone in our communities and that everyone had respect within those spaces. Miigwech.